Welcome to the Solopreneur Academy Podcast. This is a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to make more impact and income in less time. I'm your host, Megan, and throughout each episode, you'll learn how to create the lifestyle and legacy you want as you grow. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm going to be talking all about how to have a monthly sales event, most likely in the form of a webinar, that you can utilize to uplevel your selling and really bring in more people every single month. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about what a monthly sales event looks like. Then I'm going to talk you through what examples of those monthly sales events could be. And last but not least, I'll talk you through how I rearrange the marketing. This is mostly for people who are going to 7 to 6 figures and multiple 6 figures. But I wanted to give you a little insight into what that looks like because this is something I'm adding to the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind as a part of the main modules. And I wanted you guys to be the first to know about it. So without further ado, let's get into what monthly sales events are. And as always, with these Nurture podcasts, I'm going to include a worksheet that goes right along with this. So you can go ahead and download that. If you click in the show notes, you'll be able to help plan out some of your monthly sales events. So here's what monthly sales events are. Monthly sales events are typically what I encourage my masterminders to do as a way to get more people coming in. So as a 5-figure foundation scale, what you're doing is you are getting your marketing out there, you have having conversations every day, and that is just a great foundation for a solid 5-figure business. But if you want to drive demand, if you want to bring more humans into your business, it's going to usually take a little bit more thought leadership and a bit more incentive for people to really become a part of your audience. You're going to be building a larger brand. You most likely will be trying to hit 6 figures and then have the kind of resources, intellectual property to then create a group. So with that being said, you need to understand how to have a monthly sales event that gets people going more than just your regular content. Because the regular content is fantastic, but you want to give them a little oomph, a little chutzpah to get people going to actually involve themselves in your business. And that's what we do in the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind is I talk you through how to create that momentum monthly instead of just having a regular marketing calendar where you're just getting out content, getting consistent. You actually are pushing people towards an event. Now, that's what a monthly sales event could entail. Some examples of those could be pushing people towards a freebie. I like to make my freebies as typically 1-pagers. And if you are heading towards if your goal is to hit 6 figures within your business, most likely you're driving demand towards something like an email list. You have hopefully set that up. If you haven't, I can teach you how to do that. But it's one of those things that you're going to be able to build an audience where there's more than one level of opt-in for you. So when I think about doing a monthly sales event, there are really 2 variables that you want to be considering is time and money. So what I like to show with my clients is I'm thinking about creating a larger client funnel for your business. So when we're thinking about a client funnel, it's just how somebody goes from a random bystander like Sally on the street, Jay chillin', to an actual purchased customer within your business. So when we're thinking about a sales funnel, you want to be taking people through a process to buy from you. Now, when you are first starting out, and if you are not at the point where you're fully booked, if you do not have enough consults coming in, I would recommend creating a very simple sales funnel. I would recommend it be that somebody sees some sort of basic marketing, they book a consult, then they become a client. 3 steps only. And just as a reminder, at every step, you typically lose people. So, and I think it's something like 80% of people, like you lose a lot of people. So, you want to include as few steps as possible when you're at the beginning stages of your business to get people from random bystander to purchase customer, right? But as you start to build your business, as you start to get fully booked, if you do have aspirations of starting a group, and you want to have an audience that maybe hasn't opted in for one-on-one coaching with you yet, or providing your service one-on-one. It doesn't have to be coaching, but you are going to be talking them through how to really get results. You're going to be getting that excitement from the marketing. And this is when you can introduce something else into that sales funnel. So it goes from somebody seeing your passive marketing to actively consuming a piece of your content where they're going to opt in by giving you some sort of information about themselves, whether that is an email, whether that is getting a freebie, whether that is doing some sort of webinar as a launch event. But that's the second step for you. That's the next thing that you want to be building after you get fully booked, after you have a large demand of people who are booking consults and you've got that client base that's coming through. You can add in other things to build up your audience and build up your email list so that then you can sell to a lower ticket thing in the future. So that's the whole purpose of having a launch event. It's that next level thing. Now, what are the 2 variables that we can have people opt in on? Time and money. So when we're thinking about having a sales event or a monthly sales opt-in option, you can either keep it at a low time investment or a low money investment. So those are like the 2 pieces of, like, if you're watching this video, you're seeing me like randomly put my hands together, but I'm trying to make it like a graph so you guys can see that. You can either have people opt in for time or they can exchange their money for you. So the reason why having a very simple client funnel is the best and most effective at the beginning, and I'm talking no filters on your consults, not asking them, where did you find me? Are you able to invest? Do you want to, what are your goals? Not asking any questions like that because you could lose people. I'm talking they just see your marketing and then they actually opt in for the consult. They just find a time, they book, and then that's going to get you better at doing your consults, by the way. So you definitely don't want to include a client filter, which are those questions or like ramifications ahead of time. But what you want to do is you want to have the low time investment and then the financial investment coming later on. So, what I recommend for my clients that are in the Six-Figure Scaling Mastermind is I like to have them opt in for a sales event of typically a webinar. We talk through freebies in that program, and I talk you through how to create a solid 1-pager that is solving a relevant and urgent problem that people have so that they can see that you're getting a tiny transformation that, hey, when I work with Megan, I'm going to save time, money, and energy in some capacity or create time, money, and energy. So investing with her is valuable. So that's one option. You can build up your entire month to a freebie. And then what does that freebie do? Sell them into a consult. So you've got passive marketing, actively opting in to, in this case, a freebie. And then we have an email sequence. I teach my clients 3 emails that then they opt in and they're getting sold to transition and bridge the gap between the freebie and the actual paid consult, talking about what is the difference between the freebie and how you can get paid to do the consult from there. So that's the transition from there. You're going to go from freebie, sell them on doing a paid consult or doing a free consult and then joining in. So that's one option for a monthly opt-in. You can do that. I wouldn't recommend doing all of your content to a freebie unless you are like me, where I am fully booked. I do not have capacity for one-on-one clients. And I do some of my marketing is to my podcast or my freebie. And then I have my opt-in for my group or a low ticket offer. So those are the things that you want to be thinking about is you want to be able to set up your marketing so that you've got this lovely little funnel that it goes from passive marketing, actively opting into a freebie to actually booking a consult. So that's one option for a monthly sales event. But another option, and my personal favorite coming from the world of teaching, is to do a webinar. Now, the reason why I encourage heavily, you do not have to do webinars if you join my mastermind, but one of the reasons why I encourage it is because my goal is to make it statistically inevitable that you guys hit six figures if you join the mastermind. And I know that based on the study that Google did in 2024, that you need 7 hours of content. And I know I sound like a broken record if you listen to the podcast, I've talked about this before, but you need 7 hours of content, 11 different DMs, and 4 different places that they see you in order for somebody to buy your service. So if we are now at the stage where you've made your 5 figures, you've hit 10K, and you're looking to scale to 100K plus, you need to have something that's moving people forward in your sales process. And that's why if they need 7 hours of content, doing a webinar provides at least one of those 7 hours of content. Now, these are just studies that was, again, a study that was done by Google that showed that this was really helpful for people to get that know, like, and trust, for them to actually build up that rapport with you beforehand. And you can do that in many other ways. It doesn't just have to be in a webinar, but that's what I have found for my clients does really, really well. And this was something that I did. And I actually, because I was so good at doing webinars for my own audience, I was actually able to pitch webinars to other people, which is what next week's podcast, spoiler alert, is going to be all about. Is going to be about pitching yourself to get exposure in front of new audiences in the form of presentations. But for you guys, when I was thinking about, okay, I want to make it statistically inevitable that everyone that joins the mastermind hits six figures, a great way to do that is through a webinar. Now, what I have my clients do in the mastermind is they go through and they test out different topics monthly in order to drive sales for people to have a consult. And the reason we do this is if you have been following me for a little bit, you know that, again, I encourage those DMs. I encourage that conversation with people ahead of time. And if you've got a webinar coming up, guess what? It gives you something to talk about. Instead of just talking about something that's passive, instead of just doing regular closed-ended questions, you actually have a foundation for people to actually opt in again that can drive more fruitful and productive conversation. So for instance, let's say that you're a general coach and you help people, and one of the things that you support people with is getting organized. And let's say you've been talking to people and the first question that you ask them, you're asking them and you're talking with them about, let's say you help people as a generalist and a lot of your clients are parents. So you ask them, hey, like you're talking about their kids, you're asking them about like things that are like maybe their productivity levels, you're asking them simple closed-ended questions. But then you want to get them moving towards a consult. You want to get them telling you about their problems. So then if you do a webinar that is about organization, then you can ask more specific and poignant questions. You could say, which feels like it's like if you're doing a decluttering webinar, you can be like, typically the two places I see most people have clutter are in their kitchen or in their bedrooms. Which one of those two is a bigger problem for you? And then they'll start to tell you, they'll mention, hey, I'm struggling with my kitchen. My kitchen's a mess. Or they might be like, hey, my bedroom's a mess because of laundry or whatever they have. But then that provides, again, a fruitful conversation for you to go through and be like, oh, now I can talk with you more about something you're specifically struggling with that I can help you with actively. So that is why it's such a great idea to do a webinar like that. It gives you really good questions to ask. It propels your DMs forward to the problems that they're experiencing, and then you can introduce yourself as a solution. So the way I like to do now, freebies are one sales event. That's one option. And again, I like to do, if we think about that little graph, things that are a low time investment and it's a low time investment and a no very little time investment for a freebie and a low time investment for a webinar. And then I would not recommend for my masterminders, I don't recommend they do a paid webinar. You can, but typically you don't have the demand or the number of people where you could run a paid webinar successfully, where you would get, like, if you're not getting people in for a free webinar, they're most likely not going to pay for a webinar. So I would avoid doing a paid option because I would much rather them see the value, book a consult for free again, and then have the one thing that they're paying for is coaching or your service, not just going in and talking with them about, okay, well, I need you to pay me $17 and then you can pay me more. Now, we are probably going to be talking about advertisements and ads into the mastermind. However, within the business model that you have right now, the only reason why I would say that if somebody is considering doing a paid webinar or a paid workshop would be if you're doing ads to it to get some of those cold people who have never ever met you before, getting those people to invest in a low ticket paid workshop mini thing. And then that's the only reason why I would have it. But your audience, they know you enough. They have at least some exposure to you. So they're going to be more willing to come to a free webinar. And then you can send them reminder emails beforehand to make sure they actually come to said webinar. So that's the kind of things that you want to be doing, keeping it low cost. And I would recommend no cost, and then having the one cost be investing and working with you. Now, when you were thinking about how this works, and what I recommend for my masterminders is you want to be thinking about your year. And again, I'm a data girly. So you want to be thinking about if people only see 11% of what you post, you want to make sure that it's very prominent and it's very focused for when you're actually doing this free. It doesn't have to be free, but most likely I would recommend free monthly sales event. So what I do is I recommend for my clients, if we think about a month being 4 weeks of the year, we have 2 of those months I want them to be getting nurture content, just like you're getting here in my podcast. I want to make sure that I am giving you value ahead of time. So you're seeing, okay, the things that Megan is saying make a lot of sense. It definitely worked for her. It definitely is working for her clients. Like one of my clients, brand new member of Foundation, she just signed 2 painful clients in her first 2 weeks in the program. So clearly the stuff works. You guys have seen it work for so many of my people. And what you want to do is I want to give you opportunities for you to see what it's like to work with me ahead of time, which is why I do the freebies, which is why I have my podcast. But it's even better if I can include like a monthly sales event. So I would include 2 weeks minimum of nurture content. I want to talk to my clients in my audience base and just talk with them about regular value, those intangible pillars like organization, confidence, stress, work-life balance, whatever it may be. You want to be talking about that in the nurture times. You want to be sharing about your philosophies. You want to be giving away ways that like people can give the time transformation, something that they can just read and see and be like, oh, I can see how this is valuable. I can see how this could work for somebody. So what you want to do is you want to get that going. and you want to be able to have this awesome presence in their feed for 2 weeks of the month. But then you want to let people know about your monthly sales event. You want to create excitement and an opportunity for people to opt in for the monthly sales event. Now, again, you could do a freebie, but I would recommend doing a webinar because, again, it helps you to build up more of that exposure to you and your teaching style. It helps you to show them how to actually, like, giving them a transformation to work with you. So, what I would recommend, and this is something you guys can do as soon as this upcoming month, is I would recommend doing something like a webinar, testing it with your audience, and seeing if they bite, seeing if they actually want to work with you. So what I would do is I would do all of your posts, all 3 of the typical posts that you do for the week. If you do more posts than that, that's totally fine. But what I recommend for my clients is only 3 posts a week. And I would recommend doing those 3 posts about a webinar. You want to have that clear call to action, compelling them to action. That's very much based around, hey, there is something, a launch event, a sales event, this monthly opportunity for you to opt in. This is coming. And you want to talk about that throughout all of the posts of the week. Every call to action that you have is all about this webinar. And then after you talk about the webinar for the third, let's say it's a typical month, for the third week of the month, so the first 2 weeks are the nurture, and then you introduce this webinar. And then you want to do the webinar in week 4. For that 4th week of your monthly sales event, you're doing all the promotion the week prior. But then the thing that I see so many people miss as an opportunity is then that 4th week that you actually do the webinar, that's where you actually want to have a opportunity for people to opt in to your main paid offer through a consult. So what I do is I do the monthly sales event, and then I have people during that 4th week of the month or whatever week is the week that you've done all this build up, getting people excited, and then you have people opt in. You have people jump in and you say, hey, I hope this webinar was helpful for you, but I'm going to talk to you all about my offer this week. And we do not do nurture content that week. You're just sharing about how working with you would benefit them and save them time, money, and energy. So what you're going to do there is then what I like to tell my masterminders is I tell them to include a limited time offer, which is a freebie. So this is where the freebie comes in. You still want to be testing these kind of things, but I tell them to do a bonus. I have them create some sort of incentive for people to actually book a consult. And you already are driving organic demand through the way you're posting. You're talking about like, hey, I want you to try this week. This is something that's going to help you today. And you're going to be able to have that through organic urgency. And that's the main thing that you want to be working on is if you're not booking consults directly from your social media, you haven't brought in enough urgency and excitement for people to sign up to work with you. But then what you do is if you want to include a little bit of not inflated urgency, but like a little bit of selective urgency, that's when the limited time offer can come in. And you can say, let's say, for instance, you want to do a webinar on a Monday. Let's say I'm doing the 3 clients in 30 days webinar, just like I did for 5-Figure Foundation. From that point, you give them a small time frame, a countdown. We talk with people and we say, hey, I know that this webinar is helpful for you, but now I'm pivoting completely from talking about the webinar to actually talking about my offer. And what I would recommend if you are at the stage where you don't have a group just yet, you're not ready to launch just yet, like launch something larger like a group offer or things like that, which I would not recommend you doing until you hit 6 figures. I've shared my philosophies about that. Feel free to go back in the podcast or message me and be like, Megs, what podcast episodes are those? Because I'd like to hear about it. But for you, I would recommend that you go in and you create this limited time offer and you make it related to the webinar. So for instance, if I'm doing the 3 clients in 30 days webinar, I could do something like a 10K plan worksheet. And you want to make it something that is the opposite of what the offer is. So for me, for the 3 clients in 30 days webinar, since it's a group offer, I offered a one-on-one 10K call. That was like the bonus, the incentive. For you, you're already offering them one-on-one coaching. You don't want to give them more one-on-one because that doesn't make any sense. It's like they're already opting in for they're opting in for a consult, which is already a one-on-one call with you. And then we're trying to not upsell them, but sell them to your one-on-one offer. So you don't want to be like, if you book a consult, which is a one-on-one call by Friday, then you get more one-on-ones and more one-on-ones because they don't know the value and the benefit of doing a one-on-one call with you, most likely just yet. So you want to give them something that's related to the webinar. That's usually a PDF. So I tell my clients, this is where the one-pagers come in, where like they might create a closure plan. Like for if somebody's talking about relationships, they have like the 4 steps to closure worksheet. If they are an organization coach, or if they teach about organization in a webinar, then they could do like a decluttering strategy, a 3-day decluttering strategy. If you are, let's say, a personal stylist, you could give away something like the body shape quiz. Or I wouldn't do a quiz necessarily. I would do like a body shape formula. And then you can go through and give those examples, and that becomes your kind of like a freebie. But like you say, if you sign up for a consult by Friday, I will give you this freebie. But that's what I do for my mastermind is I teach them, okay, here's how you go in and you create this demand every single month. And then that's how they're hitting these numbers to get fully booked. This is how they're bringing in all these awesome people. And that's what you're going to create as well. So reminders, if you are looking, again, this is not for people if you haven't been posting consistently, if you need more of that foundation, then this is more so for somebody who's already doing like at least consistent posting. But if you got that down, I would highly recommend, if you want to add a little something, a little pizzazz to your business this upcoming month, what I would recommend doing is trying to do a webinar, doing a sales event, something that is a little bit more advanced, something to give your audience a little glimpse into the ways that you teach, into the ways that you are able to create something that is useful for them, giving them a mini transformation ahead of time. And don't do something like how to make better decisions. You want to be like how to make a career decision within the next 6 months. I, again, of course, help my clients to do this all the time. We talk about how to create that excitement, even in just the name of your presentation. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be able to go through and then have that 1 week prior, just 1 week. You don't want to do more than that. 1 week prior, sell the sales event. And then the week after, sell your offer. And I have a sequence that I give my clients about like when to talk about consults, how to explain an FAQ, how to talk about that bonus and things like that. But I think that if you guys are thinking about really making sure that this year is one of the strongest yet, I would highly, highly, highly recommend doing these monthly sales events, most likely in the form of a webinar. You don't have to, but I do think it just builds that little extra incentive, a little bit of emphasis that like, hey, when you work with me, I'm going to get you results. Let me show you how I'm going to get you results even ahead of time. And then it gets more people to opt in. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out and make sure you download the worksheet using the link below. And I cannot wait to see you guys so soon in the next podcast episode.
Did you know that 89% of people need to see a testimonial in order to buy? Get my free testimonial template using the link in the show notes, and you'll see exactly how I used testimonials to market my business as it grew to 120K in my first year full-time and multiple six figures every year after that. Thank you so much again for listening, and I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Solopreneur Academy Podcast.